Welcome to episode 3 of Unruly by Nature with myself, Rachel, Kim, and Sue. And as per usual, we have no idea what we're going to talk about today. So we're just going to let things reveal themselves, ask some questions. Yeah, take the little web of wool. It's not a web of wool. Tease the wool and then pass it on and then see where it takes it. But actually, I think today I'm going to start with a question. I know we've all got oils and maybe we'll bring that in at some point. But my question to each of you is, and this is a total curveball, I'm going to go with you, Sue. What does authenticity mean to you?
Oh gosh, that's a big one.
Oh, it's juicy though, isn't it? I like it.
Authenticity. I do believe it's such an overrated word these days. I'd have to say it's so overused. Um, because I've been exploring authenticity for quite a while. And for me, it's a lot of demasking. The masks we put on as we go through life because we think that's what's needed in a particular situation, to get whatever, to make us feel better, to stop judgment coming our way, um, to to fit in, all of those things, right? We kind of feel that we have to put on all these masks, and we do it, and I think a lot of the time unconsciously. And then we get to a point where we don't feel authentic because it's not the person who we are at home when we're in our pajamas or in our knickers in the shower. That's not normally the
You wear
person that
knickers in the
shows.
shower.
After you got out of the shower or about to get in, when you're standing waiting for the hot water to get hot.
You have just been camping, so it makes sense.
Thanks for the clarification. So that, yeah, so for me, yeah, that authenticity is really about behind all the masks and all the pretends and all the social constructs and all the bullshit basically that we wrap around ourselves as humans. And it's just coming back to being ourselves, and that's also it's a big question, isn't it? Who is
Mm,
ourselves? We have to go down that lane. I think it's long and deep to find
mm,
out who we are. But authenticity, as it stands, as the word, I think just means being true to yourself and true to what you really feel. Honesty, honest
mm.
feelings, honest expression, and not
Yeah,
hiding,
I love
not
that.
hiding.
I think
Mm.
that's a great, and I don't know where that question came from, but obviously it's where we needed to start. What about you, Kim?
I love what you said, Sue, but it's funny because you said you didn't love the word, and I like absolutely embrace the word authenticity.
Mhm.
Part of my tagline now, wild authenticity.
I just think it's
Because
overused. That's why I don't think it's bad in any way. I think it's overused.
I just like, but I love it because I think it's so real. And it's all of those things you said, but I think it's embodying the moment. I think it's allowing, when we rely on someone else in that moment, we needed to rely on someone else. And when we get strength to do something on our own and we do it, like, I think it's like we're always authentic, even when we're putting masks on. We needed to do that in that moment. And we needed that moment in order to keep this journey going of who are we. And I believe that's just my opinion. The human journey in this life is to discover us, and it's so different for everyone.
Mm.
I'm so driven right now to keep learning and writing and creating, and that wasn't part of me. But I have friends who are retiring from work and they're just happy sitting on their porch drinking tea.
Mm.
And so it's like we all have different pathways that we're exploring, but I think authenticity is just an allowance in that moment of what is. no matter
Mm.
what the thing is that is occurring, I think for me, that's just, if we yell at our dogs because they're barking, that's authentic. That was an authentic response. So I think it's not contrived, it's not pre-planned, it's not rehearsed like an actor.
Mm.
It's a reaction or a response in the moment. So that to me is just it's much to me I think I'm looking at it in a much more simple way than I used to. I used to think I had to become something,
Mm.
and now I realize I think I am always authentic. Just
Mm-mm.
that authenticity might be a mask in the moment.
Yeah, when you were both speaking, it was interesting, Sue, because when you said you didn't like it, but then when I felt you expressed what it was, I felt that you then did like it.
Yeah.
It felt like you went from it was something over there to someone, and then once you started speaking it, I felt like you were authentically you. That so for me, authenticity is a feeling, I guess.
Mhm.
As I was listening to you both, I was thinking, going, gosh, how would I describe it? Maybe because I sometimes do struggle to find words because I am very much in my feeling space quite a lot, and I don't always have the words for it, but it's you can you sense when someone's being authentic, don't you?
Mm.
And
Mm,
when they're being inauthentic because there's almost this or yourself there's this like scratchy jar, there's
Mm.
something or is it not that there's something going on, maybe it's not inauthenticity but there's something else in the way of it, like where which is why maybe people struggle. They like going out in nature a lot, they like being around dogs because they just are honest.
mm,
So maybe it's the maybe the dislike of the word authenticity is it's become like a buzzword, but the
Mm.
people that are using it, or some people that are using it, aren't they haven't landed with that what that word means for them, or I mean words mean different things to different people, don't they? But
Mm.
mm,
but yeah, for me it's a fit, you can feel it. Like I know when I'm speaking my truth because I can feel it in my body. It's like it the way I describe it is it's coming from inside as opposed to it's in front of me. That's the best
Mhm.
way for me to explain it. Rather than having to bring it inwards, it's coming outwards.
Mm.
That makes sense.
It does, and I love the way you've described it as a scratchy feeling. That's exactly how I it's like it is. It's like a scratchy feeling. It's like somebody's just dragged their fingernails down the
Oh,
blackboard. It feels like
oh,
ooh.
I don't like that visual.
Oh.
I love the word abrasive that you said, Rachel. I think that's such a key word. And because I can feel when I'm trying to be something for someone. And trust me, like authenticity is, I don't think it's something in this world today for most of us that exists in its natural state. I think are always feeling obligation or some reason to be something, but like I just feel very contracted. And it's not usually when I do something, but it's like right after, and I'm like, that's not my honesty. But yet in that moment it was authentic. So
Mm,
because and it's just an awareness cycle, I think, but I love that you use the word abrasive because I think we're always remembering things about ourselves and who we are in our soul place.
mm,
So I love that you use the word abrasive and how you came from inside to outside. That resonated with me because you can feel it. It's like when it comes from inside you, you're expanding.
mm.
And when you're kind of not feeling comfortable or whatever, you're in contraction. And so
Yeah,
because
I've just had it. That's just jumped up. Thank you, Kim. That's just jumped up for me as well when you said that. And go back to what Rachel said. if I'm doing like sometimes I do like just lives on Tuesday, for instance, just speaking my mind or something that I'm musing about. If I'm speaking my authentic truth and the words come from within me, it does feel like they're just coming from within me. If I'm talking about something that I'm not 100% sure about, and it's not my authentic truth, but I'm trying to explain something like that I've heard somebody else say, for instance, then it does feel like the words are outside me and I'm grappling for them to try and, get the right wording or to get the right explanation. So what you've said there, Rachel and Kim, it certainly feels like it comes from inside and it's easy when we're being
Mm.
authentic, doesn't it?
I think that's when we haven't when we're learning something new, like zoopharmacognosy is so, even though I feel like I'm only scratching the surface with it on what I know so far, I've only been practicing it for 11 years. You could stick me in a room with anybody, I could talk about it till the cows come home. But if you ask me to talk about the science
Mm,
behind it, I would really struggle because that's not my passion. I know the science is really important because it gives validation to these modalities, but that's not what I'm bringing to
mm,
the world with zoopharmacognosy. For me, it's more about becoming present with the dog and the plants and that feeling side of things. So I don't know where I'm going with this, but when I only teach zoopharmacognosy one-to-one now, because I learned when I was teaching in groups how much the bit that I got really excited about was when the case studies and I got to get my hands on the student on their own, because then I could find out how are they bringing it to the world,
mm,
because we need all of those. So zoopharmacognosy is an umbrella term to describe the innate ability to self, animals have the innate ability to self-medicate on plants. But we all need it in different ways. We all need to hear things in a different way. And just like our relationships with
mm,
our dogs are perfectly unique, somebody may not want to come to me because I don't specialize in the science, and they're someone that needs all the facts, they need the details. But so they would need someone like that so they could then go on that journey. So with my students, like at the minute, I've got three ladies and they're all completely different. And I'm so excited to see how they bring it out to the world
mm,
because they're learning information from me and they'll be gathering it from books and stuff they see on social media. But they're then also infusing it
mm.
with their essence, with what their qualities are, and then bringing that out to the world. And that's, I guess, is the process of evolution. Yeah. And I feel that's why it is the process of learning something new. You learn more about yourself naturally, don't you? Because when I trained with Caroline Ingraham, who pioneered applied pharmacognosy, I, it took me ages I was like, oh, I need to go and study about the science of essential oils, which I did. And I dove into all of that, but none of it stayed because that wasn't my path. Yes, it was great to have those experiences, but I needed to try it on. Like, I don't know if you ever watched Mr. Ben as a kid, where he's that cartoon character and he goes into different wardrobes and puts on different clothes and then goes into a whole other world. I felt like I needed to try on the different outfits to see, was it this one, is it that? And then once I landed on it, I'm like, now I can fly because I found out the bits that my purpose of this modality and bringing it out to the world. Yeah, that,
And that ties back perfectly to authenticity, isn't it? Because it's your authentic version of Zoofarmer,
yeah.
right?
Same with dog training, same with animal
Mm,
communication, same
mm.
with our relationship with our dogs.
I I think you hit on like such a great word. and I wrote it down because it was such a great word. You talked about people bring their own essence. And that to me is like such a good synonym for authenticity is like their own essence. Because you also touched on the word passion. And so now, since we started this off with a question, I'm sensing the theme of I want to ask you both a question. What what would you say is like the difference between passion and authenticity?
I
Because they're different.
can I answer that quickly? Because this is what's on the tip of my tongue, but then it'll probably change when it is something else. Um, I feel like our essence runs through us, but it changes. I feel like they change together. I don't know that they're not inseparable, but I feel like, oh no, it was passion and essence, wasn't
I
it?
was going to say, are we talking about
Passion
essence
and
or
Okay.
passion here?
passion and
I just
authenticity.
brought in my own words.
I didn't even bring science into this.
I love that I went first and I just completely made it my own. You're like, let's make a banana
But
bread.
that
And I'm,
was authentic.
yes, that's so true. Exactly. And now I'm getting passionate about cake. But because you've given me two ingredients and I've completely brought in my own ingredients. And I'm not even making a cake now. I'm building a house. Maybe we pass this one to Sue because I can't remember the question.
Oh, Rachel, I love you.
Because this is
So
just
messy.
defining authenticity right here.
It is. It's exactly
You've just messed stuff up.
it. Oh dear.
What
Passion
about
and authenticity, the difference. I don't know. Is there a difference? There is a difference, definitely. But for me, they're definitely connected because if I'm feeling if I'm feeling passionate for me, if there's like a passion and I can feel it, something's burning in me. It's an excitement and there's an energy, there's a fire energy in me to get things out there or to do something or express something. Um, it generally has to do with what's with me authentically, right? I'm not going to get passionate about something that's not very real for me, that's not very true to me. So I think they definitely are part and parcel of the same thing. Passion perhaps is the energy behind the authenticity when we express ourselves. Long shot.
I
Hmm.
like that. What about you, Kim?
I actually love what Sue just said because it makes me curious. I think of a passion as like more like a doing thing, right? I mean, I mean, I'm probably like oversimplifying a definition, but a passion is something we discover we love. Intuitive zoopharmacognosy as opposed to scientific zoopharmacognosy is very, that was your passion, and that's what you're bringing into your work. And people like Sue and I were drawn to the intuitive side of things, whether we understood it or not, which I can tell you I didn't. I just liked you. So I chose you rather than Caroline Ingraham, right? So there was something about me that wanted to step out of my comfort box and into the intuitive side. And who knew what would come from that would be animal communication and creative writing. I mean, so
Mm.
like those things I didn't even know were my passion, but like I followed those little wool threads that I don't know.
Damn Darcy.
And I pulled and I said, let's see what this is about. But it was difficult choices because it was so uncomfortable. But what it has brought out is me knowing me in a
Mm.
different and deeper way, which I think helps me understand and like it's like an archaeological dig for authenticity.
Mm.
And so I think I am now living my life in a much more aligned way for my soul, and that's kind of it. So I don't know. I see passion as something that, like you said, it changes and we discover it, but it leads us to learning about ourselves more deeply.
Mm.
Yes,
Mm.
that.
It's like we know we're on the right track when the passion is there, right? It feels like, okay, I'm on the right. And that could change. That's what I'm recognizing as well, because how often do we think, oh, I'm so passionate about this. This is going to be my thing for the rest of my life. And
What?
then boom, where did the passion go?
Sounds
And
like my
that's
last
and
7 years.
that's so perfect though, isn't it? That's I don't want to eat potatoes forever. You know, some days I might want a pumpkin or I might want to eat a banana. And I think it's the same as that. I- Again, coming back because I teach a lot, so I relate it a lot back to my students. But I've had some students say, that they never follow anything through or they don't take something through to the end. And that's a real block of theirs and it's a self-limiting belief. And I'm like, yeah, but is it? Or is it just that your drivers are changing, that you're needing to pivot and change direction? We don't all come to the same, we don't all at the age of 30 buy a house and get married and get, buy a car and a cat. We're all changing at different in that order. We're all changing at different stages, but it's the constructs again, isn't it? We think that we should be doing it in a certain way, but I believe I ping pong around quite a lot, but that's my way of pulling together different ingredients. And then I may have a period where I'm really slow and focused and turtle-like. Another time I'm all over the shop, but that's natural for me. But there will be a pattern to it that my soul knows, but if I'm comparing myself to other people and thinking, well, they're always so focused or they're else, we're all of everything, aren't we?
Mm.
And it's the changing. I think it's important to acknowledge that it's natural to change.
Mm.
It's the most
I fought
natural
against it for
thing.
so long. I
Uh,
did. I fought against it for so long, thinking it was wrong that I kept wanting to, change my interests or change the way I did things, or, I kept thinking I was the one that was, yeah, I was getting it wrong and others were getting it
Faulty.
right. Until I embraced that. And now, like you say, I'm just like you, Rachel. There'll be times where I'm super focused and super passionate about one specific thing, and then suddenly I'll be grabbing bits and pieces because I'm so excited because there's so much that I want to learn or
Mm,
experience.
mm,
So it constantly changes. And once I actually embraced that and said, that is who I am, that's the authentic me, and
mm,
it's okay, then yeah, it becomes a lot easier. Not always easy, but a lot easier.
mm.
Amen. That's not always easy. I I
Mhm.
mean, it's so incredible though how we're like honing in on like what is authenticity back to the first question. I mean, it's funny. At first it was like it's all over the place and we're grabbing these little threads and what it really is becoming is that it's natural to shift and change
Mm.
and it's natural to want to infuse intuition into something. And for the last few years, I mean, I'm a very structured person. I like strategy and structure and flow charts and
Mm.
holy, but I actually am changing from that. That was part of who I was. I think it's part of my essence.
Mm,
But I need to embrace, and I tried to like throw it all away when I became an animal communicator because it's very intuitive and oils are very intuitive. And I tried to kind of throw all that structure away. Well, now I'm realizing it's just both of those things at the same time for me. And
yeah.
that it's like I'm really good about having a structure, but if my plan doesn't come to fruition, I just feel into how I feel about that. Do I feel upset? Do I feel okay? So I'm learning that flexibility to change. And God knows I've changed 55 times since I left my first career, which is turning into something of a beautiful adventure because I don't know where it is. But I can tell you all like the people that I see out there that just repeat the same course again and again and again. Ugh. For me, right? It's great for them,
Mm,
but for me, I don't, it has to just be something new, I think.
Mm.
And that's okay because I know the new is always going to be there if I'm listening.
mm,
So that brings me to our dogs. What about them? We also expect them to be a certain way all the time or a certain personality. Well, that's your personality, so that's who you should be always. And it's just not the case, is it? It's the same with our dogs. They, on different days and different situations, at different ages and different phases and different stages and levels of their life, they also change. I mean, I relish in the changes that I see in Charlie at the moment. He's turned 13 this year. And he started doing all sorts of funny things that he never did before. He never really had a voice. He never really barked. Now he loves barking and loudly.
mm. Is it
You
deep
know, so
or high?
high pitched, excited, super excited. And yeah, just different things. And it's just, why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't our dogs be exactly the same? That, as they learn and change and grow and relationships and how they feel, etc., they also show different qualities, different essences, parts of their essence
Mm.
in different situations and in different people. And obviously, that's affected as well by the energies of that situation because they're right now expressing right now how they feel. So, yeah, they're going to tap into all of that as well, aren't they? As we do, and just express themselves differently all the time. And I think a lot of the time it's hard for folks to remember that my dog is not just one little dog that does this at home and does this outside and does different things at different places because we expect them. Well, they can do that, the age-old one, but my dog can sit at home and he can recall at home away from the cat, but when we go out or when we go to Auntie Judy's or whatever, suddenly it doesn't work anymore.
Or someone comes in and they stop listening.
Yes,
They normally
yes,
do something and then they've got an audience. They're like,
that's
oh,
right.
what
Exactly.
can I get away
Put them
with?
on the spot, won't you? Yeah, so it is just remembering that as well, right? That they also can change and shift and depending on the situation and the energies in the moment. And there goes the silence.
I was
I love
I was
it.
waiting for Rachel. You look like you were thinking you gotta say something.
No, no, there's actually a lot of space there today. Maybe it's the clove because I've got a bottle of clove in front of me. Maybe that's anchored me down because maybe that's why I had to put the geranium away. Because I was thinking in the last two episodes, I was such a chatterbox. And that I guess is the same thing. I was thinking, oh, like don't talk so much, Rachel. Don't talk so much. You were talking constantly the first two episodes, but that's what I needed to do. And that's what we needed within our little collective. But I'm probably gonna listen to back to this one again and in the moment I think I was really quiet. And then when I listen back to it, I'm like, blimey, that was two-thirds of the audio.
So let's get onto the oils then, because you introduced them. Go for it, Rachel.
So I've got, well, I joined the party a little bit late. So when you sent us the Zoom link, I'd been doing some other things, so I missed the conversation that was happening. So I'd already grabbed my comfort zone oil, which is geranium, like she's beautiful. Oh, But then Kim threw in a curveball, and it was in, and I wanted to not miss out. So, Kim, do you want to share what you said about the being in the shower with you? Did you have pants on?
No, I didn't have pants on in the shower. I was
We do a lot of thinking and stuff in the shower, don't we, ladies?
Thinking
I
pants.
I get so much like download in the shower. I have a thing, I have a notepad called Aqua Notes. And it's like it has a pencil and waterproof paper, and it's the
Oh my
best thing
God.
I've ever bought. I've been through
I
two or
love that.
three of them already, and it's like I'll be in the shower forever sometimes just writing shit down. It's
Aqua notes.
but I was in the shower washing my hair today, and I'm like thinking about essential oils because we always have been bringing an oil, and I'm like, I saw my oils box, and it's got two sides, a left side and a right side. I'm like, okay, it's the first column on the right side. So the column one on the left side, and I'm like, it's the row all the way at the top down one. And I'm like, whatever that oil is what I'm bringing today. And it happens to be Melissa, which is also lemon balm. And
Mm.
so it's funny because it's anti everything, antibacterial, antiviral. It's great for what ails you.
You're a rebel oil.
Yeah, exactly. It's an oil of freedom. It's a
Mm.
nonconformist oil. So that's the one I
Mm.
have today.
Do you know what? I've just had as you were talking, Kim, because coming back to the oil I have, not my comfort oil, the Dranium, I've got clove bud, which was because of the game we played, which I wouldn't never choose to bring out clove bud. And as you were talking, I'm not actively sniffing it, but the smell is in the room. And I just had this incredible image of my grandpa. So this is my mum's father. He was a really, he was really petite. Anyway, I had an image of him, and we used to make these for Christmas. We would make these little made out of marzipan fruits. So just basically little balls of marzipan, and then we'd stick the clove bud in the top, which would make it like an orange or an apple. But my grandpa, you're meant to take the clove bud out, but my grandpa would eat the whole thing, would eat all the clove buds. Isn't that fascinating? He must have needed clove, but he had angina, whether that was related, but he needed to ingest. Isn't that funny? That just popped in my head. I love how oils just bring back those memories.
Mm.
It's so powerful. I can taste it now. It does also remind me of the dentist.
You know, can I tell you, I had real, I was traveling. I used to work in the tourism industry, and I
I
used to
didn't know
sell,
that.
my department sold trips to the Far East. So I did quite a few trips to the Far East. And one of them was in Malaysia. And on the trip, I got toothache. And you in the middle of and it was like a rural Malaysia, not just Kuala Lumpur. We traveled into the jungle and all sorts.
Wow.
And I got toothache, and I said to the tour guide, where on earth would I can't go to a dentist here. I don't feel comfortable going to a dentist here. I don't think I even had insurance anyway. And he pulled out of his little car. He had in his car, he had this little bottle of clove, not clove oil, the actual cloves. And he said, go and put one on your tooth and just rub it on your gum and keep it there. And that was the first time I'd heard of clove as a sort of a toothache thing, and it really, really works. I was really quite blown away. I didn't have to go to the dentist. I could wait whatever it was, the week or the 10 days that I was there to get back, and I got through it. That's amazing.
I mean, isn't that brilliant?
Mm.
Mm.
Isn't that, I just love that. It's so simple. Like,
Yeah.
it makes me want to go and get some pieces out of the kitchen
Mm.
cabinet now and offer them to Darth. I don't think she's ever gone for clove bud. I think Cosmo did. Our Boston Terrier. I think he went for clove bud. Interesting. I'm touching my jaw, aren't I?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I
Interesting.
really do need clove. There has been stuff going on with my jaw recently. So maybe this is one to really journey with.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Oh, this is going to
Look
be
at
fun.
that. I mean, this is like the thing, right? Like you guys
It
just
is. This is the
you
magic, right?
played my
Yeah.
game and like Clove has been the
Yeah.
thing.
It
So I
really
said to
has.
you, so I said to you, Kim, I did the same game and I pulled out Cajaput, which
Mm.
is from the Melaleuca family, same as tea tree family. And when I pulled it out, it was my first thing was it smells like stinky wet socks, but it's actually got quite a refreshing taste. Taste. I didn't taste
Now you're supposed to take it. Now you're supposed
You're
to drop some.
I
No,
love that.
but interesting that yes, I said to you because this is also brilliant for respiratory, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, all those kind of things, and that's what I'm sitting with this morning is real head congestion. So it's all up here and lots of phlegm, and this yeah, it's also this is a anti. What do you call the anti-phlegm qualities?
Anti-catarrhal?
That's it.
There will be another word. It probably is flub something. Is it?
But it's that as well. I use a lot of this in winter for myself. It's a nice alternative to when I get tired of eucalyptus or the other ones, and this one is really good.
Ravensara? Do you like
Yes,
Ravensara?
love,
Yeah.
love. Very similar, actually, very similar, because Ravensara is also more gentle
Mm.
than the eucalyptus or the tea tree or whatever, I find. So yeah, definitely one of my faves. So yes, again, an oil that I didn't pull out my box today, and yet it's exactly what I need.
It's
So thank you,
amazing.
Kim.
Well, and I mean, and the thing that struck me was Rachel's memory about, Grandpa chewing on clove buds. And then your story about your toothache. And I mean, I can't, like, the universe is wild, man, because like back then, those were like the first hints. And you had no idea back then that you were going to end up in this place studying zoopharmacognosy and like working so intimately with plants and even animals. And it's the thing we don't see. We see like the next step and that's it. And it just, I got chills when you were telling that story, both of you. It just so real. Like,
Mm.
you just don't see it, but you're drawn to it.
Mm.
That's when you grab the wool thread.
It really is. It
Is it a
really is.
thread? I mean, what is it? A yarn piece? I don't know.
When I have a question now, because it's bringing back some memories for me. When would you say was your first experience or exploration of, let's use the word holistic or alternative, so outside of Western medicine? What was your first
Oh, I got a
experience?
good one.
Oh, okay, go Kim. Sue. I look at Sue and call you
Look at
Kim. Should I just go cross-eyed?
I'm not going to tell the whole story because it's really long, but when Christopher was born, my firstborn, it was a very difficult birth, and when we brought him home, he started to cry, and he cried and cried and cried. Went to the doctor several times to find out what was going on. There was nothing physically wrong with him, but he cried and cried and cried. Eventually, it came out that he actually had an overactive nervous system that could not regulate at all. And now it's called sensory. It used to be called, then it was called sensory defensiveness. It's now got now it's sensory processing disorder. But back then, there was no doctors to diagnose such a thing. Anyway, I went in search of everything and anything that could help my baby because he cried literally. I think I had a diary that I used to keep because the doctor said I want to know exactly when he's awake, when he's crying, because sometimes it can seem overly. And it was at one stage he wasn't sleeping longer than 20 minutes at a time, and then would start crying again. And every sense in his body was so. If you like, people would say, "I will take him for a walk." and we'd push him in the pram and the wind would blow and he would start. Or we would walk into a shopping center and the lights were shining and then he would start crying. I would pick him up as a mother and want to console him, and that was touch. That was more sensory input. So I was desperately trying to find something that could help him. There was no medications needed for him, but that could calm his nervous system. And the very first person I came into contact with then was a woman who did aromatherapy massage, and she had advertised a course for massage for babies, specifically for babies. And I went along and I told her about Christopher, and she said she worked beautifully with me. And I remember the first two oils that I was introduced to was German chamomile and mandarin.
Mm.
Those were the two that I used on him as a baby. And then I had a routine that I literally did every 2 hours. There was a whole routine we did. I had to do body brushing in order to basically overload the system so that it shuts down, and then reintroduce with gentle music and aromatherapy massage to help lift back, sort of balance the system again and bring it back up into normality,
Wow.
balance that moment.
Wow.
And so that was my first experience, was actually massage, and the two were German chamomile and mandarin.
Gosh,
Oh,
I love that story.
mm.
And it helped. That was our routine, and it was amazing. And then after that, I was introduced to homeopathy, and then it was a lot of that in conjunction with the massage, and I learned then all about um, physiotherapy and all of those modalities as well. So yeah, that was really my first introduction.
Wowzers.
Yeah, that's
And who knew, like as you say, who knew that years and years and years ago, I mean, years and years down the line, that I would have a dog that was so super sensitive as well.
mm,
Mm.
And suddenly it dawned on me that I've used these kind of, alternative, I've used essential oils all my life. There were times when it was more or less, but I've certainly used them all my life. And I wondered, why didn't I think of this when my dog was so sensitive? And
Mm.
funnily enough, again, one of the very first people that I found when I was still living in the UK and I had just gotten Charlie, she was a trainer who also she used not essential oils, essences, flower essences. So that was when I was introduced to flower essences, was through her. So it was then the combination that reminded me of the essential oils that I used on my kids. And so that's when I started, yeah, on a
Gosh,
holistic journey.
that's a
that's so beautiful, isn't it?
Mhm.
it's a beautiful story that again goes way back, and you just, you're helping your child, and that's like your goal, and you don't realize that it's the beginning of something so beautiful and profound. For me, it was a synchronicity with our very first dog and my health challenges. We were barely married, and we had a little Pembroke Welsh corgi named Kramer, and he fell off the A-frame during agility class. But to back up, like 2 days kind of after I finished college, my dad passed away suddenly. And it was very interesting because like all these beautiful things are blooming in your life, life with Jim, a new job, a career, because I was finishing university at that point, and my body just started. I was an athlete in college, played softball, and like my body just started doing weird things. And at 23 years old, 22 years old, I had no idea. Weird rashes, and you'd be given a cream, and like I became asthmatic after all of it. And I'm like, this, like, it doesn't make any sense. There's something I don't know. I had no idea really until very recently, probably the last few years, that emotions can play such a role in your physical health. So I just started covering it with the band-aids of conventional medicine, and it just spiraled. Meanwhile, Kramer falls off the A-frame and they wanted to do surgery. And we're like, it didn't feel right. So we got recommended a vet and we went to her and she did a B12 injection, chiropractic. And this was in the early 90s, mid 90s. And then she had us do raindrop therapy on the dog. So just it's an essential oil massage. So this is back, in the day where putting oils on dogs was, we didn't know any different. Now we would never put that much strain on their body, but um, back then, I'm learning and it helped him. We never had to do surgery. His shoulder healed, but I ended up going to doctor after doctor after doctor, and then all of a sudden was like, this does not resonate with me. And nothing makes any sense. There's got to be a way. And I've always been that person. And I feel like the body is a miracle and it's meant to like work smoothly. And it's just talking to us. But I didn't understand. Back then, I didn't understand the language. But I found a doctor to help more on the holistic side. And so it introduced me very gently to nutrient deficiencies and supplements. And I got the essential oils through the dog and it just was life changing. And so I've kind of been the anti ever since then. And I like the nonconformist. I'll try different things and experiment and explore and find what works. And again, like you said earlier, Sue, it's always changing. My body is never the same. It's always shifting. And so I'm learning to feel, like Rachel said at the beginning, that we feel what we need and it's an intuitive experience. So yeah, it was pretty wild when I look back. And just to finish it off, I remember doing an animal communication with Kramer because it was back with coercive training and all of these things that I just wanted him to be my mulligan, my do-over because I was full of regret. And he's like, don't you see the beautiful life that we had together and the things that I showed you? And he just so vividly showed me meeting our vet, the essential oils, and how he introduced me to animal communication. And I just wasn't open to it back then. I didn't know. And so it was like, but he's like, we're good, dude, just chill. We had like a life we were meant to have together, and it was a beautiful life, but it's that memory regret. And he's like, don't go there. So, but you do at first, and then you see the beauty of the unfolding. How about you, Rachel?
Yeah, just as you were speaking then, I was thinking, I know as a child or as a teenager, my parents sent me to a homeopath, which I thought I'd never heard of one. And I can't remember why, but I remember enjoying the session. Her name was Caroline Grist. I don't know if she's around anymore. I was maybe 15. And I just remember thinking, she's asking me all these really strange questions, but I really liked it. I really enjoyed the process of it. So that was probably my first experience of like non-Western stuff, but really it's like you guys, well, it was my babies, it was my dogs. So it was my first ever dog, Sophie, who was my tripod, my Weimaraner from Battersea Dogs Home. I didn't know anything. We would have just used painkillers from the vets and, I didn't know anything about holistic therapies at this point, but I remember her eating candles and coal and thinking, that's strange. What's she doing that for? She gonna hurt herself. And then it's only when she died and then I was starting my dog behavior training and I adopted at the time I thought I don't want another Weimaraner because Sophie was my one and only. And until I'd met her, I'd never heard of Weimaraners. But I fell in love with the breed. So when we went to the Dogs Trust and we saw Baxter across the way, almost waving at us, And he had three people's names against him. I thought, there's no way we're getting him. Anyway, he ended up with us and he came with chronic itchy feet, itchy ears. He was pink all over. And for whatever reason, well, because of why I am now, but that will be one of the reasons, is I didn't want to go the vet route. So the vet route, which works for some dogs, and that's their path. But for me, I didn't want to put him on steroids. I didn't want to do immunotherapy. I just didn't want to do that. The rebel in me said no, that wasn't the path for him. And that's when I found Caroline Ingraham. And that's when I started to really explore the essential oils, the herbs. That's when I found Chris Day, an incredible homeopathic vet in the UK. That's when I found sound healing, kinesiology, flower essences, animal communication, all of it through Baxter. And also working the massive amount of self-work. A lot of it through my friend Dennis Murphy, who's written the book Blame Game. So a lot of self-honest reflection was Baxter's teaching too. So um, he was my game-changing dog. He completely opened up everything. And actually, do you know what's fascinating? It's his gotcha day today. He's not with us
Mm.
anymore. But we got him 16 years ago today. And yeah, he completely changed. So it was a real journey going through the skin. The skin was a tough one. It was a really tough one. That's when I fell in love with green clay.
Mm.
He would want tea tree applied topically. He would,
Mm.
undiluted, which you're not meant to do, right? You're not meant to apply it. And some dogs couldn't tolerate it, but he would ask for it applied topically because he had a deep fungal infection and he just would melt into it. Oh, yeah, he was the absolute game changer for me. But when I was going through it all with him, it was really hard because I just wanted it to go away.
Mm.
I just wanted him to not have itchy skin. Like I'd leave him on his own and he'd come back, I'd come back and he'd have a hole in his foot because he chewed through his foot. And it was so upsetting for me to witness it. I found it really hard, but that was the bit that took me on my own self-healing journey. And yeah, and eventually the skin started to clear up. Could I tell you what it was? I don't know. I don't know what that it wasn't the thing. There wasn't an elixir. It really was a process.
Combination. Yeah.
It was it time, was it my healing journey? It was changing my relationship and my life. It seemed to make there was a lot of stress just disappeared so many different factors, but it was all perfect, even though at the time I didn't think it was. I thought it was awful. It was really, but yeah, he's completely changed my life.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. Rachel, I'm going to take that from there because it reminds me as well so much now of exactly that. When we look back, hindsight is always a good thing, isn't it? When we look back and we see exactly how that had to unfold, as you say, and who knows, it was a combination. It was the timing, and it was your healing, it was his healing, it was everything together that allowed that process to eventually unfold that way. And I get this sometimes when I'm with clients and they want me to tell them what to do and how to fix this and do whatever. And in some way, I know that they have to go through their own process in order to get where they need to get, in order for them to get the wisdom that they need to get from that situation or that's available to them in that situation, whether they take that or not.
Mm.
But it's really hard because it's I want to be there to support them and to share with them what my process was or how I did it. but I also know that they have to have their own journey. They have to have their own experience because when we, like you said, when we all look back and see where we've come from, we realize that we had to go through all those steps and have all those experiences to be the person we are today, and to be on our own healing journeys, our own, you know, whatever journeys that we're on, spiritual journeys. We had to go through that whole process. There are no shortcuts. I don't believe there are shortcuts.
Who'd
And
want
so,
them? Well, you would at
well,
the
we all
time.
do.
You
This is
would
the
at the time,
thing.
right?
The thing is, we all want them at the time. Like you said,
Yeah.
we all want the shortcuts at the time.
Mm.
And yet, it's only in hindsight, as it says, is always a good thing because then we can look back without the pain and the discomfort and we can see the actual process that happened and go, wow,
Mm.
absolute, that's freaking awesome, amazing the way it worked out. But when you're in the thick of it, and like you said, if you're seeing your child or your dog or your partner or whatever suffering, or you are in that place of immense discomfort, you want the freaking shortcut. You don't want to know what lesson there is to learn. You just want you just want to get rid of whatever it is, right? So I get it from both sides. When you're in the middle of it, that's the experience, right?
And that's where the mess is. I'm going to bring in a story. Another story is Bridget. She's just like, hey. So Bridget is also in spirit. She was our Basset Cross Cavalier, Bridget the Midget. Maybe not PC, but that's what I called her. She was a great little dog. Anyway, she developed a fear of fireworks, and I would have called her a pretty bomb-proof dog up until the age of 7, which interestingly was the year that Sophie died, and a year when my life was completely chaotic, and it was the year when we adopted Baxter. So Bridget and Baxter were out playing, and Baxter had rolled her over accidentally and she slipped a disc. So the year she developed this firework phobia was the year all of this stuff was happening. And I tried so many different modalities, and they all helped in different ways for her to feel more relaxed during fireworks going off. But there was this one day, and I know you've probably both heard this story before, but it was such an incredible moment for me. There was this one day in the evening where fireworks were going off, and what Bridget did was when a firework would go off, she would pant and pace, but then it wasn't just that, it was the digging. She would dig at me. She didn't dig at my partner at the time, she would dig at me. So it was more, yeah, I knew that on some level there was something else going on for me while she was having this reaction to the fireworks. So this one day, I offered her, I think it was Valerian she would go for or St. John's wort. And I offered her that, and she went from panting and pacing to just like, oh, I'm going to go and lay under the bed. So she lay under the bed, but she's still panting. And I grabbed a bottle of frankincense, and I'm sat with the frankincense, and I'm thinking or feeling just absolutely, I'm done. I'm done trying. I'm just like, what the hell? What the hell am I contributing to this? That's what was the question. I can't remember the exact words, but it was what am I bringing to the table in this situation? And I just sobbed for probably about 3 days. All of this grief and pain and all of this stuff just came up and through my body. And I had events happening sort of over the 3 days that almost acted to bring up more stuff for me. It was a really hard 3 days, but all of this, you're a bad mom, you're a rubbish, like you've messed up, you're a therapist, you can't even help your own dog. All of this self-blame was just like in me, and I had to just feel all of it. And then, yeah, and then, okay, then the time moved on. And then the next time fireworks went off and Bridget didn't react, my thought was she's gone deaf because I thought she's not heard them. How is she not having a reaction? But something had changed. Something changed in that moment. But whether it was, again, timing, whether it was, but I just feel that moment, Bridget helped me heal all of that pain, that self blame, all of that stuff I'd been. So every time, basically, this is how I see it, and I'd be intrigued to see what your perception is on it. Every time fireworks would go off, I'd go into, oh no. And I'd, on the surface, be like, right, okay, we've got this, we're going to do this, these are all the tools, and I'm going to be really calm and help Bridget out. No part of me was aware of myself. I was thinking I'm being the helper, I'm helping my dog, but I hadn't spent any time with what my vibration was, what was going on within me, my emotions. So in that moment, it felt like that file was deleted. I'd accessed that, I'd spent time with that emotion and it shifted. So then the next time fireworks went off, and I'm observing her, I'm just like having a completely different experience and broadcasting a different energy for her. So that for me felt really significant. Um,
Mm.
I'm not saying that is always going to be the result every time, that we have such an obvious mirror feedback when we sit with our stuff too. But it it was a game changer for me in how important it is that when we're helping our dogs, how important it is to recognize that they're also asking us to take responsibility for and I don't mean that in a we're messing up way, but for what we're bringing to the table and what we're feeling and how they're helping us too.
Mm.
I I love that story. And I mean it, and the word that came to me when Sue you were talking and also Rachel, it came out was strength. And I think sometimes we just want to reach out and find that fix, that quick fix. But at the end of the day, our dogs and animals, cats, whatever, they come into our life and they're having their own life and they go through their own experiences. And you know you see people that just have perfect dogs. Well, their experience in that moment is just that's their experience. They get to experience ease. And those of us who desire more, like we're on a mission and we're searching for something inside ourselves, we're going to get those dogs that pull at our capabilities and they force us into strength, not force us, that's not the right word that I'm looking for, but they pull us into a position of really testing our belief in ourselves and them, and we want things fixed, and they engage us in seeking out a different kind of path because it's not even a solution.
Mm,
And they help us uncover this thing that we don't even know we've been seeking. And it's such a beautiful dance when I hear your stories and the story of Bridget and Baxter and all the changes and how it sent you into this work on your own, Rachel. And I know Sue, you've been there on your journey, and of course, I'm ever on my journey, and we seem to have dogs that are asking a lot, a lot, which is, I used to hate it and want it different and just I didn't want to feel the pain or the sadness or the grief or the emotion or the devastation. And I remember, oh, I'll never forget this. I mean, it's just a quick story, but I will never forget this. Django was this dog. He was going to be my everything dog. I had these beautiful expectations, and he came from a rescue as a 9-week-old puppy. and his gotcha day is on September 28th. And he's 12 now. And when he was, we didn't know. And this was another thing that really pushed me into zoopharmacognosy. And it also just set me on fire for career change and learning everything I could about behavior and animals. And I just had no idea it would end up where I'm at today. But he had a reaction to his rabies vaccine, the first one, when he was 7 months old, 8 months old, somewhere in there. And he just came home and he filled our house with vomit. And we didn't put two and two together because it was a few days later. So I'm thinking he ate something like out in the yard that was poison. And so we back to the vet and she's like, "Oh, it's probably just a reaction to the rabies. He'll be fine." Okay, like sometimes that happens. And she's we still go to her today. She's an incredible vet, the one that same one that introduced me to essential oils. And we did the next rabies vaccine at we waited and we made it longer, so he was somewhere around 19 months. And the seizures started and the panic started and the panting started and the biting started. And he was in agility class and we had him, doing all these activities that you're supposed to do with dogs. Australian Shepherd, high energy, exercise him, exercise him, exercise him, use his brain, right? I mean, that's all the things you're taught from the rescue from the obedience schools. He'd earned his CGC. Long story short, he got really freaking sick. And I remember we were working on our certification, Sue, like with Kathy, and she was set to interview me. And we had a big rescue event at our house. We'd done it. It was our fourth time. And Django was out in the yard running around and he started barking at the fence and some lady came up and goes, "Oh, what's up with you?" and stuck her finger through the fence.
No.
And he just laid into her and I wanted to vomit because I didn't think I was ever going to be able to get through my dog's a biter. Now we handled it. I did the interview the next day. I mean, tear-stained face. And it's just when I knew I had to take responsibility for digging deeper and he's showing me something, he's screaming at me to see something, but I didn't know what that was. And what it was everything I'm doing right now.
Mm.
Everything. The essential oils, the animal communication, the writing, all of it. And I could see it as he sacrificed, but he's on his journey. He's on his life. And we ended up together so that we could discover us all together. And now he goes to work. He loves to go with Jim to the office. He gets so many treats and so much. And we have just taken such great care to allow him to make those choices on his own, to show us what he wants. He was a mad professional counter surfer. And I realized early, like, early on when we would just be exasperated, he wanted space to be by himself. That when we have people over and that it's too much for him. And can I just please go in my room?
Mm.
And, a lot of times I think we feel bad for putting our dogs in a place where they feel safe. But now I understand when he starts doing those things, he just is telling me that he needs space.
Mm.
And so it's like we've learned so much and we've traversed this life and we've come so far. And I never would have told you he was my like heart dog. And I just honestly, they all are.
Mm.
That's there's not one that brings something different, but he is so strong and he's 12 now and we're doing awesome. But I mean, it's so powerful, and I don't even know what made me tell that story right now.
He did.
Beautiful. Mm.
I feel like we need to close on that note because that's such a poignant story, which will speak to so many people that hear it.
I don't know that I've ever publicly told that story. I think Sue knows it.
Mm,
Yeah, it's a powerful one, and it needs hearing, as I think it will cut through a lot of the noise.
mm.
Yeah. Okay, ladies, this has been an incredible journey.
Isn't it just?
We didn't know where it was going to begin, and we didn't know where it was going to end
With our nonconformist oils.
with our anti-oils.
And I think it comes back beautifully to your very first question about authenticity.
Yeah, absolutely.
How so?
In that everything we've spoken about it's just authentic living with our dogs. It's not about fixing, healing, changing, da da da. It's the journey that the things that we've learned. And yes, the plants and everything help us and support us and give us more information. But in the end, it's all just authentic. It's all just real life with dogs,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, that's it.
Mic drop summary right
Boom.
there.
I like it. Fantastic. Well, I think that's a wrap.
I agree.
It certainly is. Thank you, friends.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.